I died, clutching a broken shield, my blood staining the hot earth of Greece, and for 500 years that memory lay dormant inside me, until a simple touch of a marble statue made me relive every second of those 3 days that changed history. My name today is Marcus, I'm 34 years old, and I work as a history professor in Sao Paulo. Throughout my entire life, I had recurring dreams about a narrow gorge, the smell of hot bronze mixed with blood, and the deafening sound of thousands of shields clashing against shields. I would wake up in panic. The trip to Greece had been planned for years. As a historian specializing in ancient civilizations, visiting Thermopylae was a professional dream. But when I finally arrived there on a hot August day in 2023, something inside me broke in a way I could never have predicted. The moment I touched the statue of Leonidas, I felt an electric shock run through my entire body. My legs weakened, and then the floodgates of memory opened. My name was Aristeus. I was 28 years old in that life, a Spartan hoplite, and I was there in August 480 BC, along with 299 other warriors under the command of King Leonidas. I remember every detail now, as if it happened yesterday. The journey from Sparta to Thermopylae took days. We marched in silence, as we were trained since childhood. Our muscles were tense, not with fear, but with anticipation. We had been prepared our entire lives for this moment. When I saw the pass for the first time in that life, I understood why King Leonidas had chosen that place. The hot gates, Thermopylae in Greek, was a narrow corridor between the mountains and the sea. It didn't matter how many Persians came, they would have to pass through that bottleneck, and there, numbers wouldn't be an advantage. Our phalanx formation would transform that small space into a meat grinder. I remember the first night. We camped watching the Aegean Sea reflecting the moonlight. The other Greek allies, Thebans, Thespians, Phocians, were nervous. We could feel it in the air. But we Spartans were at peace. Not because we had no fear of death, but because since we were 7 years old, when we were torn from our mothers and taken to the agoge, the brutal Spartan training system, we learned that death in battle for our homeland was the only death worthy of a true warrior. Aristeus, one of my phalanx companions, was beside me polishing his shield. I could see my distorted reflection in the bronze. We had grown up together, trained together, bled together. That night, he told me something I never forgot in any of my lives. Aristeus, do you think they'll talk about us? 1,000 years from now, do you think anyone will remember our names? I laughed and replied, if we die well, Aristeus. If we die as Spartans, they'll tell stories about us until the end of time. The dawn of the first day of battle brought with it a spectacle that froze the blood even of the bravest. From atop the hills, we saw the Persian army approaching. It wasn't thousands. It was hundreds of thousands. The historian Herodotus would later write that there were over 1 million, although today scholars estimate between 100 to 300,000. But at that moment, it seemed like the horizon itself was moving in our direction. The colors were stunning. Red, gold, purple. The Persians weren't coming to a battle. They were coming to a parade. Their armor gleamed in the sun like dragon scales. War elephants, creatures we had never seen before, roared in the distance. The ground trembled under the weight of thousands of feet, hooves, and wheels. Xerxes, the king of kings, waited. He thought fear would do his work for him, that we would see that impossible horde and run. He didn't understand Sparta, didn't understand that we had been forged for exactly this moment. Leonidas walked through our formation, his red cloak fluttering in the wind. He didn't make a grand speech. He didn't need to. He simply said, "Men of Sparta, today breakfast will be here. Dinner will be in Hades." We laughed. All of us laughed. And in that laughter was everything we were. When the Persians finally attacked, it was like a wave crashing against a cliff. They came by the thousands, screaming, their spears raised. But in the narrow pass, only 100 of them could face us at a time. Our phalanx was a perfect machine. Shield against shield, we formed an impenetrable wall of bronze. Our spears, longer than theirs, reached the enemies before they could touch us. The noise was deafening. Metal against metal, war cries, groans of agony. My spear pierced the first man in the chest. I felt the resistance of flesh, then the shock against bone. He fell, and another took his place immediately. And another. And another. It was endless. The heat was unbearable. The August sun of Greece cooked us inside our bronze armor. Sweat ran into my eyes, burning them. But we couldn't wipe it, couldn't stop. A second of distraction meant death. I felt my muscles screaming, my lungs burning. But we maintained formation. For 3 consecutive days we resisted. Xerxes sent his best troops, the Medes, the Scythians, the Sake, even the Immortals, his elite guard, composed of exactly 10,000 men, always maintained at that number, couldn't break us. Persian corpses piled so high in the pass that we had to fight on top of them. The smell was indescribable. Blood, entrails, feces, urine. Death had an odor that stuck to your skin, entered your pores. On the second night, while we cleaned our weapons and tended to the wounded, news arrived that would seal our fate. A Greek trader named Ephialtes had shown the Persians a secret path through the mountains. By dawn, we would be surrounded. Leonidas gathered the council. There was a logical option: retreat, fight another day, preserve lives. But Leonidas had a greater vision. He knew that if we retreated, the Greek alliance would disintegrate, Athens would fall, all of Greece would be enslaved. But if we stayed, if 300 Spartans faced the impossible and died defending freedom, they would inspire all of Greece to unite. He dismissed the allies. Many left, except the Thespians and Thebans, who insisted on staying. We, the 300, didn't even discuss it. I looked at Aristeus. He smiled. There was no fear in his eyes, only certainty. The third dawn was different. We knew it was the end. So we did something unprecedented: comb our long hair. It was a Spartan tradition. A warrior should be beautiful to die. The Persians watched, confused. How could these men, surrounded and doomed, be preparing as if going to a festival? When the final attack began, we fought no longer to defend a position, but to sell our lives for the highest price possible. Each Spartan who fell took with him 10, 20 Persians. My spears broke. I moved to my sword. It also shattered. I began fighting with my shield, using it as a blunt weapon. I saw Leonidas fall. Our king, pierced by so many arrows he looked like a porcupine. We fought fiercely to recover his body, protect it. Waves upon waves of Persians attacked us. We were retreating, being pushed back, but never breaking formation. An arrow hit me in the shoulder. The pain was sharp, but distant. Adrenaline kept me standing. Another hit me in the thigh. I stumbled but didn't fall. Aristodemus was beside me, bleeding from multiple wounds, still fighting. Then came the moment I remember more clearly than any other. A Persian spear pierced through my shield, penetrating deep into my chest. I felt the cold bronze tearing my flesh, piercing my lung. I fell to my knees. The world began to darken at the edges of my vision. But before I closed my eyes for the last time, I saw something that made it all worthwhile. I saw fear in the eyes of the Persians. They had won, yes. But what victory was this? It took them 3 days to defeat 300 men. They lost tens of thousands of soldiers. And now they knew, everyone knew, that if 300 Spartans could do this, what could all of Greece united do? I died with this certainty. We hadn't lost. We had won in a way Xerxes could never understand. Our death would be more powerful than 1,000 victories in life. When I came to, I was on the ground at the feet of Leonidas, statue trembling uncontrollably, tears streaming down my face. Tourists around me looked concerned, asking if I was okay. A sight guard offered water. But how could I explain? How could I say I had just died 500 years ago and been reborn on the same day? In the following months, I sought help. Therapists, psychiatrists, even a medium. Most said it was a hallucination, perhaps caused by heat or dehydration. But I knew the truth. I knew details I had never studied. I remembered conversations, faces, names that not all history books recorded. I began to research obsessively. And I discovered something fascinating. I wasn't the only one. There are records throughout history of people claiming to have memories of Thermopylae. An American soldier in World War II who, upon seeing the Kasserine Pass, had flashbacks of fighting at Thermopylae. A child in India who described ancient Greek battles with impossible details. Scientists call it genetic memory, collective archetypes, or simply fantasy. But for me, and for those who experienced it, it's real. Today, when I teach classes about the Battle of Thermopylae, I speak with a passion my students comment is different. They don't know why. How could they know that when I speak about the courage of the 300, I'm not reciting facts from a book, but reliving memories engraved in the very essence of my soul? The most important lesson I learned, both as Aristeus and as Marcus, is that some choices transcend life and death. Those 300 men could have fled, could have chosen to live a few more years, die old in their beds, but they chose something greater. They chose to become eternal. And they succeeded. 500 years later, we still talk about them. We're still inspired by them. Their deaths in that narrow pass changed the course of Western civilization. If they had retreated, if Thermopylae had fallen without resistance, Athenian democracy would have been crushed. Greek philosophy, art, theater, science, all could have been extinguished before flourishing. Sometimes I wake in the middle of the night, still feeling the weight of the shield on my arm, still hearing the Spartan war cry, "Ow, ow, ow!" My wife asks if I'm okay. I say yes, that it was just a dream. But it wasn't a dream. It was a memory. Aristodemus, my brother in arms, survived the battle by cruel chance. He had an eye infection and was sent away before the final attack. He spent the rest of his life being called a coward in Sparta, a fate worse than death for a Spartan. The following year, at the Battle of Plataea, he fought with such suicidal fury, seeking the glorious death that had been denied him at Thermopylae, that he finally found redemption. I think of him often. I wonder if he also reincarnated somewhere, if he carries the same memories, the same guilt for having survived when 299 died. I wonder if we'll ever meet again, in this life or another. Reincarnation, if that's what happened to me, isn't like fairy tales. It's not magical or mystical. It's brutal. It's carrying the weight of ancient deaths, lost loves, battles already won or lost millennia ago. It's waking up knowing you've lived before, loved before, died before, and that you'll do it all again. But it's also liberating. Knowing death isn't the end makes me less fearful. Knowing I fought at Thermopylae makes me face modern battles, even if they're battles of bills to pay and reports to file, with more courage. After all, I've faced the impossible once. I've looked at 1,000,000 enemies and didn't retreat. Some nights, when everything is silent, I close my eyes and can feel the breeze from the Aegean Sea. I can hear Leonidas saying, "Then we will fight in the shade." I can see my 299 brothers beside me, ready to face the final dawn. And then I understand true immortality. It's not living forever. It's living in such a way that your death has meaning. It's choosing something greater than yourself. It's knowing that when everything crumbles, you'll stand. Not because you're strong, but because you're Spartan. If you're reading this and wondering if it's possible you've lived before, pay attention to the signs. That place you've never visited but seems familiar. That historical era that fascinates you inexplicably. Those recurring dreams that seem more real than reality itself. They might not be just coincidences. My journey of discovery is still just beginning. I plan to return to Thermopylae soon. This time, not just as a tourist or historian, but as a son returning to the place where he took his last breath in another life. I want to touch the soil where I fell. I want to feel the sun that warmed my last day as Aristeus. But above all, I want to honor the memory of my 299 brothers. Because as long as one of us remembers, as long as one of us carries these memories through time, they didn't die in vain. Their courage wasn't forgotten. Their sacrifice continues to echo through the centuries. Whatever comes in this life, I know that when my time comes again, I won't be afraid. I've already died once defending what I believed in. And if necessary, I'll die again. Because some truths are worth more than life. Some causes are worth eternity. And if, by chance, you also carry memories of past lives, don't be afraid of them. Embrace them. Learn from them. Use them to live this life with more purpose, more courage, more passion. Because in the end, it doesn't matter how many times we live or die. What matters is how we choose to live each moment we're given. As Leonidas said that last morning, his words echoing through 500 years to reach me, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. They did something. They did everything. And their souls, wherever they are now, can rest knowing the world remembers. I remember. And I'll ensure future generations remember too. Because Sparta may have fallen. Ancient Greece may be just ruins. But courage, honor, sacrifice, these things are immortal. They transcend body, time, and space. They live in every person who chooses to fight for what's right, even when the odds are impossible. I was Aristeus. I am Marcus. I will be other names in other lives. But in all of them, I'll carry with me the lesson of Thermopylae, that 300 men can change the world. That courage is stronger than numbers, that death is not the end, and that some battles are worth fighting, not because you can win, but because it's the right thing to do. Molon labe. Come and take them. Those were Leonidas' words when Xerxes demanded we surrender our weapons. And they're the words I carry with me now. No one can take these memories from me. No one can erase the truth of what happened in that pass. I lived. I fought. I died. And I lived again. And if there's one thing I learned crossing centuries, it's this: the soul never truly dies. It just finds new bodies, new times, new battles. But the essence remains, the courage remains, the love of freedom remains. So if you doubt reincarnation, if you question whether you've lived before, look within yourself. Search for those memories that shouldn't be there, those skills you never learned, those fears that don't make sense. Because maybe, just maybe, you were also at Thermopylae, or at another great battle, or at another crucial moment in history. And if you were, honor that memory. Live this life with the same courage you showed in that one. Because the world needs warriors. Not warriors of swords and shields, but warriors of spirit. People willing to fight for what's right, whatever the cost. I was one of those warriors. I am one of those warriors. I will be one of those warriors. And you?